Wow! Ladies and gentlemen, wow! Can you believe what you're seeing right now? A pink species of Hawkmoth. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bart Coppens and I study moths. And I happen to live in a country, the Netherlands. Now in the Netherlands, a very temperate country in Northern Europe, we don't have that much species of big and impressive moths, unfortunately. However, this species here is an exception to the rule. Believe it or not, it is native to my own country, the Netherlands. That's right, this is a moth species from my home country, the Netherlands, that is found in Europe. And it's pink, or rather purple. Wow, forget about the Rosy maple moth. This is incredible. So you're probably wondering what it is. Well, this one is called Deilephila elpenor, also known as the elephant hawkmoth. The elephant hawkmoth is a species of hawkmoth from Europe that uses plants like willow herb, bedstraw and other plants as host plant, is commonly found in wetlands, marshes and bogs. And today I'm going to raise it in captivity. On my YouTube channel I have a popular web series called MothCycles. And in each episode of MothCycles we raise one species of moth from egg to adult moths together. And today I'm going to be attempting to raise this moth in captivity, the elephant hawkmoth. I don't know if it's going to be difficult or not. Let's hope we succeed. Let's start the intro in this fresh new episode of MothCycles. Let's go! These are the eggs of the elephant hawkmoth. As you can see, the eggs are already hatching. It's easy to hatch them on room temperature. Just put them in a petri dish or a plastic container. These babies are just 1 day old and we're gonna raise them into awesome moths. I raise these baby caterpillars by placing them inside of a plastic box. And then I add leaves of gallium or bedstraw. Now the caterpillars of this moth can eat many plants, including epilobium or willow herb, fuchsia and more. But my personal preference is often to use bedstraw because it is common in my area. More information about the other plants that they can eat is included later in the video. If you look closely, we can even see some poop. And poop is evidence that they are indeed eating, which is good news. So what do we do next? Of course we check back a few days later. Yes, people? I do see a good amount of caterpillars in the vegetation. So there is that. There's a lot of them. It's gonna be hard to count. Alright, not bad. Container is a little bit too humid for my taste, but I see no losses, all them growing very well. This is a species that comes from swamp and wet areas, so thankfully they love the humidity. But I do feel like I'm gonna find a better and more ventilated container for them soon, so stay in tune for that. I think that these elephant hawkmoths, we wanna have a nice breeding of them. A few days later, we check back. Instar number 3, already this early into the video. Yeah, that's right guys. Hawkmoths just grow so fast. It's hard to keep up with their progress when I'm filming them. Blink and you'll miss several life stages, that's how fast they grow. That's what I like about hawkmoths though, the fact that they can grow so fast compared to other moths sometimes. Our babies are growing up. So let's see how these are doing. Native species. Oh my, they're growing really fast. A few days later, we check back. Look at that. Some of them are already in star 4. That's crazy, isn't it? Compared to all the other episodes of MothCycles, these are sure making enormously fast progress. Very early into the video already. It's almost as if they grow faster than you can film them. It's the caterpillars that earned them the name elephant hawkmoth, by the way, because apparently their larvae kinda look like the trunk of an elephant. Fascinating to see. Once again though, it's time to upgrade their container into something larger. They've already outgrown their old container. Alright people, so I guess I'm gonna move them into a big box filled with bed straw. Doo! Good luck my babies. Let's check back a few days later, brothers and sisters. Alright people, so this is how I'm rearing them now in this ridiculously large container. And once in a while I'll just throw down some bed straw for them to eat. And it seems to be working. Can you guys see the caterpillars in here? There's a lot of them if you here look in the bed straw. Maybe we can get a nice close-up. Alright ladies and gentlemen, so how are our elephant hawkmoth caterpillars doing? I would say most excellently. Look at that, a bunch of healthy caterpillars. What's interesting is the caterpillars of this species can have several color forms. In some occasions they can be green, but it seems like almost my entire brood right now is dark. And they can adapt some of their color to the ambient lighting, sometimes. And I'm guessing it's because maybe I'm rearing them in dark conditions so they develop more dark color, who knows. But as you can see, the caterpillars are very cool looking and are growing pretty nicely. This is one of my favorite hawkmoths from Europe, so I'm always happy to breed these dudes. Just look at that. Very nice little species. They do go crazy for bed straw. Bed straw is the name of the plant I'm feeding them. Well, so far the rearing is very easy and straightforward. Let's take our caterpillars and put them on some fresh bed straw. I'm sure that they will like that. Yo, check this cool animation while we check back a few days later. Wow! So people, how are our babies doing? Ha! Judge for yourself. Look at that, this is an excellent result. These caterpillars can grow really fast if you are a good breeder. Keep them a bit warm, give them fresh food, keep them enclosure clean, and in no time you'll have a birth explosion of these babies. Incredible, isn't it? Such crazy larvae. What? Alright people, so right now the caterpillars are getting sort of big. So that means it's probably time to put them in their enclosure with a not fresh new food. Yay, there you go. Good job guys. Hope you enjoy new dinner. Spoiler alert, the caterpillars of this species are about to be very beautiful. The caterpillars have false eye markings that make them look almost like a snake, which supposedly intimidates predators. Amazing babies, and they will become amazing moths. In my opinion, in captivity this species is quite easy to raise and it is suitable for beginners. They can stand very humid conditions. In the wild, among other places, this species is found in bogs, marshes and swamps, so that makes a lot of sense. It's said that if the caterpillars of this moth accidentally fall into water, they can even swim to safety. That's unusual because most caterpillars would drown in water, but it makes sense for a species that eats plants that grow near water to be able to swim back to safety. Wow, hawkmoths are such incredible moths, aren't they? And raising them is really fun. I'm happy you guys are here to share experience with me. My YouTube channel wants to help the environment by spreading more awareness about moths and their beautiful and complex life cycles, their ecology and importance to the environment. I support conservation of butterflies and moths. The caterpillars of Deilephila elpenor can eat incredibly fast. This footage is not even sped up. This is how fast they actually eat in real time. It explains why they grow fast so well. If you want any inspiration of how to enjoy your vegetables, look at how much these guys enjoy their leafy greens. So the caterpillars can also have a green form in the final instar, but it looks we're having none of those right now. All of mine are in the brown form. Enjoy looking at them right now, so that now that they are still caterpillars, because soon they will be moths. Yep, I'm going to play this animation each time we skip a few days in time. Good news everyone, many of the caterpillars appear to be pupating. This species pupates by spinning silk in a cavity. They almost spin a very primitive cocoon, as you can see here in the host plant. So if we open it up, you'll see prepupal caterpillars in here like this. Now I'm harvesting the prepupal caterpillars and I'll allow them to pupate in a more appropriate container than in this messy plant here. But here you can see, I'm just taking them out. So maybe if we're lucky some of them have already fully pupated, I don't think so. Here you go. If these larvae want to pupate, they become shiny, they actually become wet, they sweat a lot. That's how they lose a lot of moisture before they actually pupate. Now guys, letting so many Sphingid caterpillars pupate in such a small container is something I do not recommend. This is actually a bad setup for many Sphingid moths. And if you copy this setup, there's a chance that yours will fail to pupate. The thing is though that this species is one I have a lot of experience with, and for some reason this species is really easy to pupate even in terrible conditions. So I will just add multiple layers of paper towel, and on each layer I add a few pre-pupa. This is how I do it with this species. Like I said, this is a very unprofessional setup. If you do this with other Hawkmoths, especially expert level Hawkmoths that are difficult to breed, then your pupa could fail. So don't try this setup at home unless you're breeding this species. In my opinion, the pupation of this moth is just incredibly easy, and you can pupate like a ton of them in a tiny space. Yeah, guess we can put the lid on now, eh? And wait a week or two. Not all the caterpillars are ready though, we still have a small amount of them still feeding. But I think that will change very soon as well. A few days later, yes, again this animation. I spent time on making it, okay, so I'm gonna use it. That's a good start, even if I say so myself. Nice amount of pupa. That's a good start, even if I say so myself. Nice amount of pupa. As for the rest of the pupa, I do not want to hatch them before next spring, because I don't have the food plant. So if all the moths come out now, that would be terrible, because their offspring, I would have nothing to feed the caterpillars right now. So just for that, we're going to burrow them here in this nice little substrate. There you go. And then place them outdoors in the freezing cold. And don't worry, they can take it. They do the same in the wild. So yeah. That sound was my phone, by the way. Cheap ass Motorola phone. Hello, Moto. Yeah. Anyway. Maybe I shouldn't have included that in the video. Oh, what the hell. Gives it more personality, huh? I mean, that's what I lack. I lack personality, so I have to come up with artificial ways. Damn, this is taking long. Alright. I should have put the pupa in there first and then put the substrate on top of them or something. What if we do this? What if we place the pupae just here for a moment? Well, that one just flew in there. So what if we place the pupa here? We put the lid on. And we very slowly spin it around a little bit. Maybe that will help burrow the pupa better. It works a little bit, I suppose. Not as much as I would have hoped, but as long as they are kind of hidden, so that they're not exposed to the freezing temperatures outdoors immediately. That works. I'll put some vermiculite on top and stuff. That's fine. Alright people, it may not look like it, but right now is the middle of winter. The thing about winter in my country is our winter is pretty mild. Snow is pretty rare. I live in the Netherlands, we have a maritime climate, so that means we have very mild, modest summers, but also very mild, modest winters, I suppose. Anyway, the pupa are still hibernating. So here are the pupa of our beautiful sphinx moths. This is one of the best species that you can raise. Now I do have some news that's going to be relevant to this video as well, because ladies and gentlemen, I've got myself a little gig in the rainforest in Brazil. I'm going to study butterflies and moths there in the rainforest. That's awesome, isn't it? But it also means I'm going to be away for months. And I'm not going to be able to check up on our babies. So, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you any updates until I get back to my own country in spring. And that's significant, you guys should know that, because now there's basically a huge time skip. And if something happens, I need a way to explain it. Second of all, it's also a good thing to show you guys, because a lot of people always ask me, like, Bart, I am an amateur entomologist just like you, and I want to do the same things that you do. Here's my advice. On social media there's a lot of influencers who breed insects and I guess educate people about their biology. But in my opinion, you're never going to be an expert if you just breed insects. If you breed stick insects, it doesn't matter how many you breed, you're never going to be an expert. If you breed moths, I don't care how many moths you breed, how many rare moths you've owned in captivity, you're never going to be an expert. If you keep centipedes, I don't care how many species of centipedes you have, it's not going to make you an expert. I don't care how many tarantula species you have, it's not going to make you a tarantula expert. It's going to make you a fancy pet owner. That's how it is. One of the advice I always give people is if you want to have real expertise with animals, study them in the wild, collect data on them, observe them in the wild, look at their habitat, the way that they live. Now, I'm a huge pet owner. This whole YouTube channel is mostly about breeding moths in captivity. So I'm not shitting on people who keep pets, or keep insects, or stick bugs, or tarantulas, or centipedes, or praying mantids, or cockroaches. Like, that's awesome if you do. I support this hobby. Sometimes raising pets can have scientific value, especially when you look at their life history, their instars. A lot of this can be unknown to science if you raise an obscure species, but like, what I'm trying to say is don't listen to people who only keep insects in captivity and nothing else. Putting exotic insects just in a plastic enclosure is not the same as real experience with working with them. It's not the same as observing them in the environment where they actually really live. If you breed Hercules moths, congratulations. That doesn't make you an entomologist. If you can breed difficult or rare moths, congratulations. It doesn't make you an entomologist. If you have like, I don't know, rare Brazilian jewel tarantulas, congratulations, it's not going to make you a biologist. And I know it sounds really condescending right now. I'm not trying to tear anyone down. I'm trying to encourage people, especially the young people who watch this channel, and do send me emails and questions and like, Bart, how do you do all of this? How do you get jobs in entomology? How do you make this kind of stuff your work? Well, to make it your work, you actually have to get a career in entomology, start doing field work, start doing expeditions. That's how real expertise starts. I'm sorry to say it, but breeding moths is not going to give you the real qualifications that you need to be an expert. So, I mean, there's a lot of good breeders who breed a lot of moths, and I respect those who have ability to do that. I'm not even that great of a breeder. On my channel you'll see a lot of easy species and maybe a few difficult ones, but I'm not a top level breeder. But what I'm trying to say is that doesn't really matter, right? When it comes to biology and natural sciences, you know, life sciences, you also want to be able to work with insects in their natural environment and make deductions from that. The way insects behave and develop in captivity is often different from in the wild. Their size can be different because the artificial conditions have a different diet, different temperatures than in the wild. And like basing the things that you know about insects on what you see, what you observe in captivity, is basically a conjecture. It is a conjecture. So if you want to grow some respect and establish yourself as an expert, go do some actual field work, some research, stuff like that. You can even do it as a volunteer. You don't need a degree to do it. Anyway, let me show you some images because I'm going to South America, to the rainforest now in Brazil to study these cool insects. Then I come back to my country. I will warm up the pupa of these beauties in spring and then we will see what happens and complete the life cycle. Let's go. Alright, I don't care that it's late. I'm gonna put them outdoors now. Oh, let's put the night vision mode on. Ah, that helps. Thank God I have night vision on this camera. Oop. You probably can't see much, but here I have the container with our insects, and I'm just gonna put them literally outdoors where they're going to spend all winter. Here, being cold and miserable. Oh yeah, I hide them here outdoors in my garden. Enjoy. Enjoy. Great. The poor things have been outdoors all winter, but trust me, it's the best for them. They're wild animals and they need native temperatures. I'm gonna take them, warm them up, and I bet we're going to see the moths in a few weeks after I warm them up. And now winter is approaching. Don't worry, the pupa can tolerate the cold perfectly, even when they are outdoors in my garden. But before we proceed, I do have a new live update. I have a new job as an entomologist and I get to study moths in the rainforest in Brazil. I am going to Brazil to study insects. That's right, people. This is me on the way to the airport. I know what you're thinking. But Bart, isn't this a video about breeding elephant hawkmoths? Yes, it is. But I also want to share my experience as an entomologist. My new job is to document moths in the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil. If you don't like it though, you can skip the video forward to go back to the breeding. Wow, this is the Atlantic rainforest, one of the most deforested rainforests in the world. Did you know that over 85% of the Atlantic rainforest in Brazil was already lost due to deforestation? It has many species of moths, of which we know little to nothing. And I was so successful on YouTube and so successful on social media, I was offered to go to the rainforest and look at the local species. It's a total dream come true, and it's only possible because of YouTube. One of the things I did was use an artificial light to attract moths. This is known as moth trapping. And while I was moth trapping, I attracted dozens of moth species. And most of them I documented and photographed. Since we're currently breeding a hawkmoth species, you, my viewers, are probably interested in hawkmoths. Let me show you some hawkmoth species that showed up at the lights. Wow, such a diversity of hawkmoth species, isn't it? Did you know that Brazil has over 200 species of hawkmoths? Yes, that's right, 200. And many of their life cycles are still unknown to science. Maybe in the future we can try and breed some of these species in captivity. Did you know that hawkmoths are beneficial pollinators? That's right. Moths are vital for the survival of many native plants, and hawkmoths, they continue the existence of some of these plants. Without them, some of these plants could disappear, permanently changing diverse and unique habitats. Some species of orchids, for example, or tropical relatives of the cucumber family, the primrose family, and others are even exclusively pollinated by hawkmoths in some cases. Although plants that are exclusively pollinated by hawkmoths seem pretty rare in general, they do exist, and their survival depends on these insects. Hawkmoths are also generalist pollinators on top of being specialist pollinators in some cases, and sometimes an important food source for insectivores. And because of my online success, I'm out here in the rainforest documenting them for a natural reserve called REGWA, Reserva Ecologica de Guapiazzi. This YouTube channel wants to make a difference for the conservation of insects, showing the world how beautiful, amazing and important they are for the environment. With your views, your support and your subscription, I can continue to travel the world and document the most unusual and exclusive insects for you on YouTube. There are also many butterflies, moths and other insects. This channel documents rare insects, their life cycles, and it's all crowdfunded. How unique is that? You don't see this on anyone else's channel on YouTube. Anyway, that's enough. I'm going back home to the Netherlands. I could show you more, but that's not what this video is about. We're focusing on the elephant hawkmoth. Back to the Netherlands. Winter is so cold and boring. Thankfully, I skipped most of winter by working as an entomologist in the rainforest, and now we wait for spring. Guess what? Spring is here. Now it's time to warm up our pupa. Ladies and gentlemen, currently it is spring. Spring. And that can only mean one thing. I'm going to take the hibernating pupa of the elephant hawkmoths out of hibernation. Fantastic. The poor things have been outdoors all winter, but trust me, it's the best for them. They're wild animals and they need native temperatures. I'm gonna take them, warm them up, and I bet we're going to see the moths in a few weeks after I warm them up. Where do I keep the pupa of my butterflies and moths? This is where I keep them, people, on a shelf in my room. And if we place the pupa here, I guarantee that in no time there's going to be beautiful pink moths hatching from them, and I will show them to you. What's this? The pupa are wriggling and moving restlessly. Could it finally be happening? Our little babies? That would be so awesome. Hey little baby, you're famous now on YouTube. Welcome to this beautiful world. Interestingly, many came out at the same time, which is good. Gotta have some of that synchronization. So immediately we have a lot of moths coming out. Oh my god, a baby is coming out. Our little baby. Welcome to the world, Miss Little One. When the moths hatch from their pupa, the first thing they have to do is hang upside down. Gravity helps them expand their wings, as well as pumping body fluid to them to inflate them. After that, the wings dry and harden. This process can take a lot of time, so be patient and don't disturb the animal too much. Some of you are probably wondering, Bart, are you done making close-ups of every elephant hawkmoth that emerges? My answer is no. Pretty much the only way to get a good side shot of a hawkmoth is when they are emerging and drying their wings. Because typically hawkmoths, they don't hold their wings in this position at all. They fold them sideways behind their backs. So they get a good look at the underside, and its body is actually quite hard. Apart from the moment it is emerging like right now. Also, when I make an episode of my web series MothCycles, I tried to make one episode per species only. So that means if I make a MothCycles episode on one species, I'm never going to do that again. That species is done. Therefore I try to get the maximum amount of nice footage per species. Because after this I'm never going to make a MothCycles episode on this species again. Never again. So only now do I get the opportunity to show them off to the maximum. Just look at this incredible animal that we have raised. It's gorgeous. Absolutely amazing. They are so bright fluorescent, purplish to pink. It's breathtaking. Moths are the poetry of nature. Sadly, not everyone can read or see the poetry, so I'm here to translate it for you. Just look at them being so pretty in pink. I wonder if I could pull off that look myself. Can I pull off that look? Of course, silly boys. I'm a gamer girl now. Subscribe to my OnlyFans. And maybe I'll send you an exclusive picture of my feet. They're delicious. Okay, forget what you've just witnessed. Let's move on. The pink is really incredible, especially if it gets a little bit of sunlight. Wow, so amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic moment because the Hawkmoths have started coming out. And this is an incredibly beautiful species. Perhaps the world's most beautiful. Fantastic. Let me show you a close-up of their incredibly gorgeous beauty. Ladies and gentlemen, I am overjoyed. Some of my first elephant Hawkmoths are coming out. And in my opinion, this species of Hawkmoth truly is one of the world's prettiest species of Hawkmoth. No contest. Why is that, you ask? Well, I think for that I'll have to show you a close-up. Let's take this beautiful specimen here and show you why this one is awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, look at this insect and tell me in all honesty that this is not one of the most beautifully colored species of Hawkmoth in the world. Oh my gosh. Look at that incredible neon pink color. That is absolutely fantastic, isn't it? So this species is actually native to my country, the Netherlands. I'm often jealous of the species of insects that people find in their respective countries. People in the United States have cool stuff like Luna moths, robin moths, things that we don't have in the Netherlands. But this species makes up for it. Just look at it, and if we look carefully, we see the hindwing of this species is just pure bright pink. That is, if you manage to bother it enough to show it. And if we turn it around, its body is also fluffy pink. Can you see that? Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? Now, this is truly a fantastic species of Hawkmoth. It's like I'm in a disco. Look at that neon color pattern. Incredible. Wow. If the sun shines on it, it becomes even more pretty because it's olive green, yellow. It's a little bit fluorescent. So it becomes almost bright yellow when the sun is shining on it strongly. Oh my god. This is just so pretty. Wow. This really is an awesome hawkmoth, isn't it? Remember the name, people. Deilephila elpenor. The elephant hawkmoth. Oh! Oh my god, right now it's showing some of its hind wings. Look at it. Look at the magnificent pink here, wow. This species is like a rosy maple moth on steroids, dude. It's like the disco version of the rosy maple moth. Wow. I'm happy that stuff like this is actually native to my country. So I'm trying to work on more hawkmoth life cycles. Had some feedback from my viewers and they say, well, you're breeding too many Saturnid moths, you know. Maybe I agree. My channel is about all kinds of moths, not only emperor moths, not only Saturnids. So this is my attempt to give hawkmoths some more attention. And this species is just fantastic, isn't it? It's just gorgeous, wow. Absolutely amazing. Now they don't like being touched. If you touch them too much, they can freak out a little. Oh, like that, yeah? Amazing. What a beautiful little species with beautiful little eyes. Good news, everyone! Good news! Are you a fan of my online web series MothCycles? Then I have good news, because I'm going to introduce a brand new feature to it. It's called the wingspan board. Each of the squares on this cutting board represent 1 centimeter. And I figured that a lot of people who are watching my videos, it's hard for them to figure out the scale that the insects are that you're watching on YouTube, you know. It's hard to imagine the scale or the size of an insect based off a video footage. So now we have an accurate way to measure them. And in each episode of MothCycles that we raise a moth, from now on I will add a segment where we check out its wingspans. That's cool, so let's get started. So there we have it. This is Deilephila elpenor, also known as the elephant hawkmoth, and perhaps this is one of Europe's most beautiful species of hawkmoth. This species is common and residential in Europe, all the way to Russia and the Far East, even up to China, Korea and Japan, where this species has mostly one brood a year, although a partial second generation is possible only in optimal conditions. Its habitat is swamps, marshes, flooded areas and sometimes streams and rivers. It is certainly associated with very humid areas in general. The adults seem to mostly occur between early June and late September. The host plants of this awesome legendary creature are numerous, but the most commonly used one are Epilobium and Halium, known as willow herb and bat straw. Less commonly, larvae can even eat vitis or grapevine, impatiens and fuchsia. However, it prefers willow herb and bat straw over anything else by far. The moths are usually active around midnight, in complete darkness. In the dark they feed from flowers, mate and lay eggs, producing another generation of neon pink and yellow moths. Wow, this truly is one of the most beautiful species. After marveling at my beautiful, bright pink babies, I figured it was time to feed them. In captivity, it's easy to feed them honey water or sugar water. So I mix honey with water and feed them from a bottle cap. Yes, moths. Yes, moths. One of the first things I do is place them in a medium-sized pop-up cage. For the first few days they need little care, but then they will start to grow hungry. Let me show you how to feed the moths. These Hawkmoths have a functional proboscis and do need to feed constantly. In the wild they mostly feed from nectar from flowers. Yum, it's dinner time. In the house of Bart Coppens, lunchtime always gets a little bit funky. If you follow my moth breeding tutorials, then maybe it will get funky too in your house someday. Breeding moths is easy, and moths are almost everywhere. It's a fun hobby. Look at these beautiful pink beasts, sucking up their delicious honey-water mixture. Look at them. Look at them. This episode was a reward from Patreon. I promised my fans that if we hit the $400 crowdfunding goal on Patreon, I will make a MothCycles episode showing the life cycle of the elephant hawkmoth, and we hit the goal recently. So this episode is a reward for the donations, considering my channel is demonetized by YouTube. Consider becoming a supporter if you like my show. I'm feeding them a mix of sugar water from bottle caps. It's about 30% sugar and 70% water. They like it. In the wild they feed on flowers in the middle of the night. There are more efficient ways to feed them, however. Let me show you another method. The elephant hawkmoth is a species of moth that needs food. It has to be fed. So if you watch my channel a lot, you see many of my videos, you've probably noticed a lot of moths that I raise don't feed, which means I don't need to do any effort to give them food. That's normal for moths. A lot of them don't have functional mouth parts and literally cannot eat. This species is different. Now, some of you guys probably have also seen the way that I like to feed my hawkmoths in captivity. Some of those videos are kind of famous, you know, the one where I feed them with cups and they come up to me like a hummingbird. Sadly, this is not possible with the elephant hawkmoth because they are nocturnal. They feed around midnight. So if I switch on a lamp to feed them, they are not going to come. So I invent something for them. I like to call it the feeding stick. What's a feeding stick? Well, first of all, you need a stick and some cotton wool. This is some old cotton wool that I've used. So what I do is, this part is really simple. I wrap the cotton wool around the tip of the stick, right? Like this. It's very straightforward, it's very easy. Now let's go to the next step. Next you need a shallow tray of water and some honey. So I'm gonna mix the water and the honey. So this honey is a bit old, it's a bit crystallized, so it's not coming out very easily. I think it has prostate problems, people, but that's fine. So one thing is important is that the honey eventually has to dissolve though. I think it helps if we stir it a little. We really want a solution, right? The honey has to dissolve into the water for a little bit, right? It's got like a honey and water solution. Now, don't worry about the poor quality honey, okay? Moths are not picky. And when it dissolves, it doesn't matter anyway. There you go. It's gonna stir until it kind of dissolves for the most part. There you go. The next thing that you're going to want is you want the cotton wool to absorb as much of the honey water as possible. This would be very simple. There you go. It can absorb a lot. Alright people, here's the cage that contains my moths. So the next thing I want to do is I want to place the stick in the cage. Like this. So this is cotton wool soaked in sugar water, and the end of the stick I'll just stick it into the ground like that. That's right, into the ground. So by itself it stays up like this. It's pretty innovative, huh? So then I close the zipper. Ta-da-da! There you go, all closed. Now people, I found it at night. The moths, they will automatically come to this cloth that's soaked in honey water in order to feed themselves. They really do. They feed automatically from this. For me, this is a convenient method. The concept is pretty simple. It acts almost like an artificial flower. It's cotton wool soaked in honey water, and it's suspended by the bamboo stick that I used, or I think it's reed actually, it doesn't matter. You can use many ways to string it up if you want. You can use rope or anything that you like. They do like when it's higher up in the cage, because hawkmoths don't like to come close to the ground in order to feed. They feel safer when they're hovering in the air. You can also use real flowers if you have access to those. This species likes buddleia flowers. I believe they like lonicera or honeysuckle flowers a lot. You can grow flowers in pots to feed them as well, but for me this method works. We can check back tonight to see if we can catch some of them feeding maybe. They do come to feed at night. Instead of hovering, they will usually just lazily land on it. And then they will use their proboscis to drink. If you look closely, you can see their proboscis is unfurled a little bit though, when they are sitting on it, which means they are drinking the honey water. Yep, the moths show interest in the honey water, but it's hard to film and show you feeding. What's even more crazy is that they like to have sex on it as well. Yes, you heard that right. As only Dutch people would say, liefde gaat door de maag. If you don't believe me, let me show you a pairing of these moths happening at night. This is what moth sexy time looks like. Here are a male and a female that are mating. That's right, they are making babies. Only after mating will females lay eggs that are fertile and produce more offspring. Alright, let's check back a few days later, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, would you look at that? More and more Hawkmoths are coming out every day. And it's looking pretty nice, isn't it? The elephant Hawkmoth life cycle. I'm proud of making this video. It's a beautiful species that really deserves some attention on YouTube. It's probably one of the most beautiful native species that you can see in my country, the Netherlands. Although of course it's found in more countries in Europe. But for a long time I've gotten many requests for this species and filming the life cycle. Now, breeding and pairing this species, in my opinion, is not difficult, even in a medium-sized insect enclosure like this one. At night the moths, they will fly and be active and mate if there's males and females. They will definitely pair and lay eggs at some point. Such an incredible species, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? I think Hawkmoths need more attention on my channel. I filmed so many species of silk moth, Saturnidae. But that's a little bit unfair. There's so many more moth families and groups that aren't just freaking Saturnidae. Curiously, this specimen seems to have like a hole in its wings. I'm not sure what's up with that. That's very strange. It's not supposed to have a hole in its wings. On the other hand, it really is a gorgeous species. Hope that doesn't distract from its beauty. It is strange though. It's very strange. So this species of Hawkmoth, in my opinion, is truly one of the most beautiful Hawkmoths in the world. Just look at their intense beauty. Alright, let's see how our dummies are doing. Hey, let's open the zipper. Try to get this out. There you go. So something really annoying has happened. So, this is the stick that I used to feed the moths. But of all places where they could lay their eggs, they've laid eggs here on the feeding stick. If we zoom in, can you see these small green little orbs? So these are actually the first eggs of our elephant hawkmoth, so that's generation number 2 coming up. Now I should be very happy, I mean I am happy, but I'm also a little bit annoyed because this is really sticky mess. So now the eggs are covered in honey and sugar. I even put some honeysuckle here in the hopes that they would lay their eggs on here instead. But these dummies, they just decide to lay their eggs on the frickin' feeding stick. My gosh. Do I like getting my hands all sticky and my clothing all sticky with honey? The answer is no, I absolutely hate it. Stupid moths. Why you choose to lay your eggs here, man? That's so dumb. Have to collect them anyway, because this is literally our next generation. Dang, so kind of annoying. Ah, look at you guys. You guys are all famous now on YouTube, eh? People wanted to see you really badly. Thank you guys for watching my channel. I really appreciate it. I am nothing without my viewers. I am nothing without my audience. It's only because of all of you that this is possible. I should put them back because some of them look like they really want to fly away at any moment. And I want to keep them. So let's put them back. Yeah. Dang. Handful of pink moths. Beautiful. Okay. Bye guys. Take a look at all of my children. So Deilephila elpenor, another life cycle on my channel, folks. I think soon there's going to be way more eggs as well. So it's just gonna take some time for the females to lay. Should happen pretty fast. Well, truly people, here's some of the next generation eggs. Some elephant hawkmoth eggs, eh? Would you look at that? Is that not fantastic, eh? Oi, 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 oi. And I hope to have many more soon, but this is just the first day, so there's absolutely going to be more. Alright, let's check back a few days later, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you about one of the favorite flowers of hawkmoths and one of their favorite host plants for a lot of species. So, in Europe at least, we have this beautiful flower here. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pick one. Sorry for picking this flower. But I planted this plant here, it's my garden, I can do what I want. There's going to be more flowers. This here is called honeysuckle, or lonicera. It smells really, really good, like, it's really sweet. Now, there's many species of honeysuckle all over the world. And to be honest, I'm not that much of a botanist to know to tell you too much in-depth information about this species or if it's even native here. But I do know that we have native species of honeysuckle. I think this is our native species, but I could be wrong. Don't pin me on that. Fantastic. But the thing about honeysuckle is I know it occurs in the United States and in Europe and Russia, even parts of Asia, I think. This is one of the favorite flowers to feed from for any hawkmoth species. So what I did is I put some of the honeysuckle flowers here in the cage of my hawkmoths. As we can see, if we zip open the cage, see? We can see these plants were literally incorporated. And I noticed at night, the moths, they will come to the honeysuckle flowers to feed. It's like McDonald's for hawkmoths. So, yeah. Now we have to be careful because they like to lay eggs on the honeysuckle as well. I'm sure there's here a lot of eggs. On top of that, they still have this bottle here with the honey-soaked cotton wool that I use. And they, for some stupid reason, they just love to lay eggs on it as well. So this here is a sticky honey filled piece of cloth, cotton wool, full of eggs. Yeah, so this is my setup to feed them. Strangely, it's very hard for me to see the moth actually feed. But I know that they do because they grow several weeks old in this cage. And if they wouldn't feed, they would starve and not live this long. So I know they are eating. I think they're eating the nectar from the honeysuckle. I tried to film it, but it's actually hard to catch them in the act of doing that for some reason. Anyway, let me show you. Yeah, this green stuff, it's all eggs. It's moth caviar, isn't it? So this is the next generation of elephant hawkmoth babies. Now, guys, it kind of annoys me that they keep laying eggs on this thing. It's kind of stupid if you ask me. Because this is just so damn sticky. Like, now the eggs are, for some stupid reason, they're all coated now with honey and sugar. I hope the eggs don't grow moldy because of that. For sure I have to get my hands dirty every day. Now, I should not complain too much because, hey, eggs are eggs and breeding is the point of doing all of this. At the same time, it's like a mild inconvenience to have to pick all these freaking eggs. Like, look at this. This is just annoying. Now they're sticking to my finger and it's kind of dirty and unprofessional. But my hands are sticky with honey. I'm an autist. I guess I hate this sensation of having sticky fingers. I'm sorry, girls who are watching. Oh wait, no, let's not go there. Let's not make this too explicit. La 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 la. Anyway, this is me collecting eggs. Most of these moths now are over a week old. And as moths grow old, their beauty kind of fades. They sort of deteriorate. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still looking beautiful, but as you can see, their wingtips are starting to erode a little bit. And so is some of their color, but that's fine. It happens a little bit faster in captivity than in the wild, but I assure you it happens in the wild as well. I think the lifespan of these moths, if you take care of them well, is between 2 to 4 weeks. If you really have a good enclosure, I think they can survive over a month. Maybe even 5-6 weeks. Depends on their vitality and how much you feed them and how well you feed them. Hawkmoths can live longer than silk moths, that's for sure, if you know how to feed them. So if you touch these moths, they will try to drop themselves to the floor sometimes. That's their defense mechanism. Anyway, looking really nice still. Let's put you back, dude. Oof, this individual here is really old. Some seem to have more damage than others for sure. They can live for several weeks if you take care of them well, however. Aha, even more eggs. A few days later, we check back. I am your host, Bart Coppens, and I am from a country that's called the Netherlands. A country in Northern Europe. Now, in the Netherlands we have a tradition. This is called beschuit met muisjes. Beschuit is kind of like a biscuit that we eat. And these are essentially sugared anise seeds. And the tradition is as follows in the Netherlands. If a baby was born, this is what you eat. If the baby is a girl, you eat the pink ones. There you go. So, if you have a girl, you eat a pink version of this. And if the baby is a boy, then you eat the blue ones. So, these are sugared anise seeds. Do you see that? Pink for a girl, blue for a boy. You're probably wondering, but Bart, what if it isn't a girl or a boy? Well, I don't know. Then you throw it in the garbage. Ah, just kidding. It's a politically incorrect joke. Hey, no hate to someone's identity. Anyway, it's a tradition. So I'm not sure how old this tradition is. So why am I showing you this? Because we have something to celebrate. We have babies. Okay, real talk. Maybe that joke was a little bit mean. Just to compensate for my joke, I have to throw it out there, guys. You definitely don't have to feel like a boy or a girl, just because society tells you to. And I hope you guys realize I support everyone's gender identity. Now this may sound out of place, but it's not. I have to be really clear here. Trans people get too much harassment just for being different. But their identity really doesn't harm anyone. To have a good quality of life, it's important to live in a society that accepts you for being yourself. And that includes accepting trans people. So I hope that joke didn't sound too rude or mean. And I have to clarify this, because I don't want to sound like one of those people that worship Jordan Peterson, and I don't want to attract fans like that who think I am on their side. Sorry. I am definitely not on your side if you think I am. I may even be somewhat of a social justice warrior that also likes edgy jokes. Yes, that's right. People like me exist too. It's unfortunate that I feel like I have to elaborate, though, after making a joke like that. But the internet is so serious nowadays, and it's important to know where we stand on some of these important issues, so that people don't look at my video and misread the situation and what I'm trying to say. Sorry for getting inappropriately political here. Had to throw it out there, folks. Sorry. Let's go back to moth breeding. Look at all these eggs. And there's babies coming out. Take a look. Look at all these eggs. And there's babies coming out. Take a look. Small little caterpillar babies. So, oh, it's really windy. That's real annoying. I hope the wind doesn't blow my stuff away. Anyway, we're gonna scoop up the baby caterpillars with a paintbrush. And we're gonna place them into this container. And the life cycle is now almost completed, really. So, again, there you go. Come on, focus. There you go. Go. And then several weeks later, most of my moths were beginning to die, but their babies live on. Meanwhile, let's see how the moths are doing. They've been alone here for several days. So I'm not even sure how they're doing. I imagine some of them are dead by now. I mean, they're moths. Moths don't live very long, you know, compared to my lifespan. turns out that yes, they will lay eggs on honeysuckle actually. It's covered with eggs, so I'll have to inspect this stuff real carefully later. Because the leaves of this stuff are just coated with eggs at this point. Can you see that? Yeah, we gotta collect all of those. Well, I wasn't wrong when I said that some of the moths are probably dead by now. It looks like we have our first deaths. Rest in peace, my brothers and sisters. Rest in peace. The rest of them are still alive though. But they are showing signs of old age. Like this one, for example, is looking weak. It has lost a lot of colors. It has lost a lot of scales, unfortunately. That is too bad. Or this moth here in the back. Its wingtips have deteriorated a little bit, honestly. And it's looking a little bit weak. So the moths are showing signs of older age. Unfortunately, but that's just what happens. If they were Saturnid moths, they would have died long ago. So there you go. Such awesome creatures though. I'll be happy to have the next generation of these marvelous animals. Well, here's the moths that we have left. They're still going strong despite the damage that some of them sustain. Some of them are actually looking in good shape still. I wonder why this moth here, for example, is actually looking pretty fine. Maybe this one just didn't fly as much as the rest, who knows. Others are more discolored and older looking. Oh well. Most of the moths are dead now, but their baby caterpillars live on. And I will use them to yet again complete another successful life cycle of this species. That's great, look at them growing well. That's the end of the breeding project, folks, but there's good news. In MothCycles, this web series, we also have an educational part, so we know what insect we were breeding this episode. Many days later. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are many weeks later and many of my moths have passed away. In fact, all of them have. And that makes it the conclusion of this breeding experiment and another life cycle on my YouTube channel. Together, you and me learn about nature and about insects, how fascinating and beautiful they are. So I'm happy to produce another episode of MothCycles. The cage is empty and can be dismantled. Here's a lot of the baby caterpillars, I suppose. I didn't keep all of them for myself, and more of them are being born every day. But here we can see the next generation. Can you see them? They're small and green. But we went through this process before, didn't we? So, interestingly, before the moths died, they left me with some of their last eggs, I suppose. Interesting. Otherwise, I'm just going to collect these eggs later and dismantle the cage. There you go. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Who would have thought that there's pink hawkmoths? Wow, that's beautiful. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, I want more species of hawkmoth on my channel. If you have pupa or eggs of an unusual species of hawkmoth and you're able to ship them legally to me, send them to me and I will try to film their life cycle for YouTube, so other people can share the joy. And now, we are moving on soon to the educational part of this video. Because what we do in MothCycles, we learn about insects and nature, and I always have a little bit of a discussion in which we talk about the species. Let's proceed. And now for the educational part of MothCycles, we usually have a small presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching yet another life cycle with Bart Coppens. I work hard on these videos. Today we've completed a very iconic species, Deilephila elpenor, the elephant hawkmoth. A beautiful and pink species of hawkmoth, very unusual, very great. Let's talk about this species of Sphingidae today on YouTube. Here is a map from Tony Pitaway's awesome website. Check out his website, by the way. As we can see, this species is found throughout Europe, including southern, central and north Europe, eastwards throughout Russia, down to the Far East, parts of China, Pakistan and even northwestern India, the Middle East, North Africa and Japan, also found in Azerbaijan, Armenia and more. The map represents it well. Curiously, since recently the species was accidentally introduced in British Columbia in Canada and in Washington State, United States of America. I wonder if this introduced population can survive for very long. Either way, the species is not native to America, it's only native to the so-called Old World, which encompasses Europe, Asia and Africa. The habitat of this species are wetlands, swamps, riversides, but in some cases also forests, gardens and ditches, and sometimes grassland. Its host plants are also plants that tend to prefer humid environments, such as willow herb flower. This species has many host plants. Most of them are in the families Onograceae, Rubiaceae and Vitaceae. One of their most important food plants, however, is willow herb or epilobium, but they also love impatiens, which is known as touch-me-not or balsam, fuchsia, circea, gallium, also known as bedstraw, which is the same host plant I used in this video, but also they feed on grapevine or vitis sometimes, and in Virginia creeper or Parthenocissus. Interesting, they do really seem to prefer willow herb or epilobium though, and for their conservation and ecology it is one of their major and most important host plants, especially in Northern Europe. The elephant hawkmoth is a nocturnal species. At night, the species feeds on the nectar of several types of flowers. Some of their favorite flowers are honeysuckle or lonicera, valerian, elderberry flowers, buddleia or butterfly bush, and generally any aromatic flower that is preferably white, pink or purple, fragrant and blooms at night. The species is generally most active around midnight. The flight time of Deilephila elpenor seems to vary a little bit based on the geographical location. In warmer localities such as southern Europe, this species can produce 2 generations a year in some circumstances. Usually this depends on the weather. If the conditions are optimal, only then a second brood will appear, otherwise not. In the north, a second brood rarely seems to happen, perhaps due to the lower temperatures and shorter summers that don't permit for a second generation that easily. In any case, the second generation is partial, which means that most pupae will hibernate anyway. But only a smaller part of the population will develop and hatch from the pupa as a second generation. Fascinating, huh? Well, that was a short rundown of the biology of the species. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new today. And now a very important announcement. Please listen! This episode was a reward for hitting the $400 goal on Patreon. A couple of months ago, I promised you guys, if we reach the $400 goal on Patreon, I will film the life cycle of Deilephila elpenor, the elephant hawkmoth. Boom! We did it. Now guys, after we hit goals on Patreon, something you should know, it usually takes several months for me to deliver on my promise. Not because I'm lazy, but because these long videos take a long time to film, produce and edit. But it's gonna happen eventually. And I have some news. This was successful and therefore I have set a new goal. Recently I have obtained a species of moth of which the caterpillars are really venomous. Yes, that's right, let me show you. If you become one of my sponsors on Patreon, you can receive special gifts and reward. In fact, this episode was a reward for crowdfunding me. I promised that when we hit the $400 goal on Patreon, I would film the life cycle of the elephant hawkmoth for you on YouTube. We hit the goal and I made the episode. It took me a while to deliver on my promise because a lot of time goes into these videos, but I delivered it indeed. And there are even more goals. But even better, you also receive gifts and physical merchandise if you consider becoming one of my patrons. These include postcards, stickers, mugs, even sometimes t-shirts, bags and more for higher tiers. The designs are a little bit randomized and if you are lucky, you can get an image of a rare species. I personally designed all this merchandise myself using my own photos, my own illustrations or artwork, and insects that I encountered in the wild or in captivity. If you become a sponsor of my channel on Patreon today, not only are you a member of my channel and my community, but every 3 months, depending on the tier of course that you're subscribed to, you could also receive gifts and merchandise. It's a win-win situation, isn't it? It's also a fun surprise if you have children who like my channel, or maybe family members. The designs are a bit randomized and contain dozens of pictures of different species. Thank you guys for watching. Last but not least, we have a new Patreon goal. If we reach 435, I am going to start working on an episode of a very venomous caterpillar that I raised. It's a species of moth from Mexico and the caterpillars had very sharp, stinging and toxic spines. If that sounds cool to you, well, this episode is going to be online if we hit the goal on Patreon. Maybe it's gonna happen. Anyway, see you soon. Thanks for watching. That looks interesting, doesn't it? You wanna see the life cycle? Good, because I set a new goal. If we reach $435 on Patreon, that's the new goal. $435. If we reach this crowdfunding goal, I'm going to film the life cycle of this crazy, venomous species from Mexico. You wanna see me suffer? You wanna see me in pain? Fine. Hit the goal and consider becoming a sponsor on Patreon. Now some of you may say, Bart, what's the point of this? Why are you begging for money on the internet, huh? Capitalism. Truth is, my channel is demonetized by YouTube. My channel is unfit for demonetization. Why? I don't know. YouTube has demonetized me since 2017. Yeah, 2017 I've been demonetized. And they still refuse to tell me why. They still don't want to say why my channel is demonetized. I don't know. And it sucks, because I put a lot of time, effort and passion in this channel. Dude, I made over 1,000 insect videos. Actually 1,500. We're approaching 2,000 at some point. That is insanely productive if you think about it, even if I say so myself. And YouTube is not paying me for the effort. Despite the fact I am the biggest educational channel that talks about butterflies and moths, that promotes their conservation. I don't know, guys. I am not entitled to your donations. I am not entitled to money, of course, just for making YouTube videos. That would be crazy. And nobody has to give me anything. It is only if you are willing and able. But if you can afford it, and if you are a fan of my show and you think, Bart is onto something, I like this, I like what I'm seeing, consider becoming a sponsor on my Patreon. In the description there's many ways you can help my channel. Donations are, as of today, the only thing keeping my channel alive. Without donations I would not be here right now. I would not be making these videos. And that's the truth. Because the time I put into this stuff is insane. I love doing it. And I hope you guys can support it. Think about it, consider it. But of course, you don't have to. I believe also in free and accessible information. I will never make my content exclusive or put it behind a paywall. I will always upload it for free for everybody to enjoy. So people around the globe can learn about insects. Even in countries where it's more harder to find sources. Thank you guys, and I will be back soon with some cool, awesome moths. Let's play the credits. Woo! Until next MothCycles.